everybody. That's our 30 seconds. You all right? Get it together. It's ready. All right, time's up. Showtime.
Got
What's up,
too much
everybody?
oil on my face.
I know I took my glasses off. I'm like, I can't see. Welcome to Tuesday Night Free Thinkers. It is Tuesday, March 28th. I really cannot believe that like the first quarter is about to be over. I swear to God, like March just started, but whatever. Here we are. Pushing the end of another month, Tuesday, March 28th. Welcome to Free Thinkers. I won't take a long time to drag out our introductions. Hopefully you kind of know what to do already. Regardless of where you're seeing us at, whether you're catching us on our Facebook Free Thinkers page, on my page, or on our YouTube channel, please make sure that you hit the share button. Please make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure you hit the love button. Engage with us. Let us know that you're here, that you're watching, that you're listening. Like we talked about the last couple of weeks, we literally have no idea who's watching us unless you join the show or comment. And as every week testimony, we get off here and, you know, within a day, if not immediately that night, we get hit up with people who are like, I watched the show, I listened, and so said this, and why didn't you say this? And this person is crazy, but we have no clue that you're watching us, which watching us means supporting us. So if you are watching us, please let us know that you're here. We do have the ability to engage with people in the comment section. So if you're not able to come into the conversation live, then any comments that you put in any of our live streams will show up on our screen here. We do try to engage with people there. So just drop a hello, drop a what's up. Let us know where you're catching us from. We definitely would love to engage with you both ways, be it live or in the comment section. If you're looking for the link to join into the panel tonight, it's always the same place every single Tuesday. You do have to join the Facebook Free Thinkers page to get the login information. It is always pinned at the very top. It's the top posted post, and the StreamYard link is in there. You just click on that and it will bring you directly into our live screen. If live is not something you can do, then hit us up in the comments and we will chat with you there. But do join us on the Facebook page and also on the YouTube channel, because the YouTube channel does host all of the videos, all the shows that we've done, probably for the last year and a half now that we've had our YouTube channel. But we have a ton of material. We've got tons of conversations, lots of information, great episodes and great conversations on our YouTube channel. So definitely follow us over on the YouTube channel. And again, if I haven't said it enough, share. And if you know people who you think our conversations are their speed, please put them onto us. Send them our way. We love to engage with people. In the more new people we meet, and it's like the dopest thing ever. So we love when people send us folks or tag us on things or give us suggestions on topic ideas. We definitely need those all the time. But lots of ways to engage, lots of ways to share, and absolutely appreciate your support. So tonight's conversation, we took a break last week. Every once in a while we do that. And, you know, if you've been following us long enough, you know, we don't take breaks very often. We've been doing this for 6 years now as Free Thinkers. And there have been very few breaks we've taken in the course of 6 years. So last Tuesday, of course, as soon as I hit the, you know, we'll see y'all next week post, I get hit up by a couple people who are like, I was going to join tonight. Well, come tonight and the next Tuesday and the next Tuesday. But we have, we're going to mix it up a little bit with some current events, which we don't always do a whole lot of current events, but we are going to do a little current event tonight mixed with some pick a post. And pick a post is basically where we just go on the Facebook page and pick a post of something that somebody has posted, whether it's old, whether it's new, does not matter at all. So if you've seen something on there or you shared something on there that you're like, man, we haven't talked about this, tap in here tonight. Bring the post, let us know what it was, and let's talk about it tonight. So that's definitely a way to tune in 24/7 is our Facebook page. We have all kind of conversations over there all day, all night long, not just exclusive to our Tuesday night live episodes. But like I said, the link for the StreamYard is over there on the Facebook page. There are plenty of posts over there that we can cover tonight. But tonight we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the school shooting that just happened yesterday. And Q, I don't know, do you want to expand on that a little bit? Why we thought to maybe have this conversation tonight? Because we've talked about gun control before.
Yeah, we did. We had a very heated conversation. I remember a couple of years back.
It was. And I think we've even done this. I feel like we've maybe done this in person and online. Like I know this is not our second go around with this. But I was telling my son earlier today, it's always interesting, between the first time and the second time, maybe today, to see how people's opinions and thoughts have changed, as time has gone on with, more school shootings, people wanting more legislation, people wanting less legislation. So do you want to expand on why we want to talk about that a little bit tonight?
Well, let me say this. I don't know why you want to talk about it. But let me tell you what I did have a thought about that.
Okay.
And let me tell you about my thought.
Okay.
Hopefully, I probably need to get some drink. Hopefully I can talk without coughing.
Oh no.
So, maybe it was yesterday or the day before. My mother-in-law sees me walking and she was like, "Oh, did you hear about it's been another shooting, another school shooting?" And my response was, okay. Like, I almost was like, okay, why are you telling me?
Like you're desensitized to
I realized at that moment, I am completely desensitized.
Is that what you think it is?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I thought about that. It made me think, like, you really don't, like, you're to the point to where, okay, yeah, and today is Tuesday. Like that is, so then I started thinking from that point, like, why are you that desensitized? To a certain point. I thought about that for a second, but then this was my main thought about that. I think we are going to get, or let me say, we are as a society merging into a space to where it's going to turn into white noise, to where some people, it may hit you, some people really not care. This is a long way from, the Colorado Columbine type stuff. People, it's not going to mean that much anymore. And my main thought is, I think every time this happens, it's just a whole cycle. And it's the same talking points. And you get the Democrats saying, see, this is why we need gun reform and this and this and that. And the NRA comes in and they'll come and have their statement, and Republicans, no, don't have anything to do with that. And I get tired of the same circle of conversation every time that this happens. And furthermore, I wonder, because it's the same group of people saying, see, that's why we need to do this with with weapons and firearms, and we need to get people, they have to be registered, and we got to get rid of automatic. And it's these same conversations. And I think you talked about it a little bit when I talked to you earlier today about it's other stuff than just this. And then my question is, number one, this is going to become the norm. Well, it's already the norm, and this is not going anywhere.
Becoming desensitized, then it is.
And it's not going anywhere. So it's not going to be a time where we look 30 years from now and be like, oh man, remember that time between the 90s and 2010 where all those shootings were happening? That was a crazy time. I wonder what that was about. No, it's going to be commonplace from here on out. And I wonder if people are asking the question, because the people, it's the same argument. So I wonder, is anyone considering that it's more than just the guns? What if we spend the next 20, 30 years saying it's about the guns, we got to get rid of the guns, and then the laws that they're trying to legislate, they get passed, they ban certain weapons, and then it still keeps happening. Like, what were you doing, and what's going to be the fix then?
See, and Q, that I guess for me, that's my point, is the gun is just the symptom of a larger problem. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. And I use this reference in a conversation earlier today. Cars don't kill people. It's the person driving the car that causes the accidents. Or, you take so you could put in seatbelt laws, and you can put in speeding tickets, and you can put in defensive driving courses that you have to go to whenever you get a ticket. You can put all these things in play, right, to try to make a better driver, to make a more responsible driver, to make a more safe driver. You can do all those things. At the end of the day, it's still up to the driver, and of course, driver error. Driver gets
That's what I was about to say with you, Nikki. And when you say guns don't kill people, people kill people. You say cars don't kill people. Human error kills people. And so whether it's with guns, and whether it's human error up in your mind or in your emotions, or it's human error as far as there's something is not clicking completely right inside of a person's head.
And anything can be used as a deadly weapon, whether it's a car, whether it's a rock, whether it's a fucking log off of a tree, whether it's a tire off of a car. I mean, anything can be used as a weapon. So I do understand people who say, well, somebody who's determined to kill is going to be determined to kill. The flip side is you have your people who advocate for gun legislation who will say, but if we take away the automatic rifles, then, that's going to be less damage done from a person who has one of those. And yes, if you shoot somebody with a 9mm versus an automatic rifle, you're going to have some difference of some carnage, depending on what you're shooting, how well you shoot, what your target is, so on and so forth.
Correct.
But it still goes back to the person who's got the gun in their hand, as it goes back to the person who's behind the wheel of a car. I am a safer driver sober than I am a safer driver under the influence. But I still make the decision sometimes in both of those cases to get behind the wheel of a fucking vehicle. It's me that's the problem, not the car. The car is the vessel. It's the person behind the gun, not the gun itself. And to India's point there on what she said here in the statement, and to your point about the talking points, it's the same talking points over and over and over. Never, ever do our nation's leaders, and I use that in quotations, right? Do our elected officials ever get to the root of the problem of the people who are involved in these acts? We don't get into the mental health aspects, but you have states that are continuously stripping mental health benefits, clinics, therapists. There's so many different barriers to healthcare and services. You've got people who are on a slew of fucking psychotropic medications, benzos and barbiturates and antipsychotics and all of these things that they're not. So you've got doctors who are not managing their patients well. You've got doctors who are not managing medications well. You've got people who are, by choice, getting off of medications. You have a fucking variety of reasons why it's the person, not the gun. And like y'all said, the talking points are always legislate the guns, take away the guns, take away the automatics, and there are some very smart, reasonable gun laws I do support and I do absolutely think are necessary, but it gets tiring to continuously see people, when this happens, go after the gun and then go after people who say, no, wait a minute, it's not the gun, it's the person. I had somebody tell me today, he was like, well, it's just too bad that it's going to take one of your kids to be shot at school before you understand how serious this is. And I'm like, who the fuck doesn't understand how serious this is? But to your point, a lot of people are desensitized.
And my thing is, because I'm like, I think you guys are smarter than this. It's more than just the gun.
You want to believe it is,
so if there's certain things that you need to do to go back to cars. There's certain laws that's in place that's beneficial. As much as I hate getting pulled over for having a tail light out, tail lights and brake lights have used to them, especially at night, and let you get behind a car that doesn't have their tail lights on at night, and you like, yo, get the hell off the road,
man, be mad.
I can't see you. Right,
be mad at that car.
Right. Or sometimes, if cars have those trailers in the back, and the trailers are required to be plugged in and have the lights in the back of that, and I almost ran into the back because I didn't see the lights of the trailer.
True.
And it's like, you're like, yo, get off the road. Those things can become dangerous. So there's certain laws that do minimize the ability for error.
Right.
In the same way with guns.
Right.
But let's not pretend like that's the only thing that is, that's just like every single time someone got an accident, then the first thing someone says is we need to ban all alcohol. Like,
they won't do that though. Oh
right.
no.
Now would if there was no alcohol, like if you eliminated, would that maybe lessen certain?
Oh my
Yes, it
God.
may less that, but it's not going to cure the problem. There's still going to be accident. So what I'm saying is, stop acting like you're stupid, and like you said, don't try to defund mental health institutions and things like. All of those things are highly necessary if you're really interested in helping fix the problem. You can't just point to one thing. So that's where they lose me.
No, and it's like, I made the reference earlier today too in this conversation. If we're going to get rid of guns, then we need to get rid of alcohol. We need to get rid of cars. Cars kill 8 million. No, cigarettes, nicotine, tobacco products kill 8 million people a year. I was floored.
You
when
need to
I
get
read
rid
that.
of half of the food that's in grocery stores right now.
It's not 3/4. It's probably more than half. I just went to the grocery store like right before the show came on, and I'm a big label reader, and I love taking the kids to see and shit.
Rid of the fructose.
I'm like, you can get rid of everything that's got the artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, cancer-causing agents. Like the grocery store would be literally nuts, berries, and fruits and vegetables. Like that's all that would be left at the grocery store if we got rid of the shit that kills us. So we can't make exceptions for one thing and then not exceptions for the other because you're not comfortable around guns or you don't like guns or guns fucking scare you. And that's fine. You don't have to have a gun. You don't ever have to touch one. You don't ever have to own one. Like you do have that right, whether or not you do want to have a gun or not. You got that option. But you cannot take that away for other people who, one, don't abuse it, and two, are not a mental health threat. They're just not. And you can't go person to person to person and checking on everybody to see who's got a mental health day and who doesn't. But
okay, so I partially agree with that.
Okay.
So there are certain, and one of the part that I partially agree with is, you can choose to or choose not to have one, which technically you are correct, but certain atmospheres will almost force you to make decisions that you normally wouldn't make. So for instance, I probably almost certainly wouldn't have a gun, but I live in Texas, and if everybody else got one, you ain't gonna see me not have one just because and that's in the same society. Like it's almost like, well, if you live in South Central LA growing up in the 90s, you can choose or not to choose to be in a gang. It's like, well, yeah, that sounds good for you to say, but if I want to actually make it to school safely and make it back home safely without being targeted by the gang, and everyone else in my family is in a gang, and it's like, yeah, I became a gang member, but would I really have made that same choice if my atmosphere environment was different?
Do you think that, because you were raised in Illinois, and I know that the gun laws in Illinois are way different than they are in Texas, do you think that where you were raised may breed the thought of I don't really need a gun versus being raised and born in Texas or coming from Texas where culture is everybody got a damn gun? Do you think that culturally or just
everybody got a gun in Illinois?
Well, and I know that everybody got a gun, right? But there are places when the states make it so much more difficult for people to obtain a gun, a lot of people just by default won't. So
a lot of people get locked up on gun charges because they're carrying them illegally, and depending on your occupation, that's another thing to where you like, man, why are you carrying a gun and you're a felon? You know what's gonna happen, but it's like, okay, occupational hazard.
Yep.
I got to take that chance. It's much worse if I don't have this gun doing what I do.
I really have a difficult time with the law being convicted felons cannot have a firearm. I have a problem with that. I feel like
Oh yeah,
I do. I mean, unless you're a pedophile, a rapist, a murderer, an all out
right.
terror to society. You know what I'm saying? I think everybody should have the right to be able to protect and defend themselves.
Right.
And the amount of time that you get for possession of firearm by felon is just unfucking believable. Somebody very close to me did 3 years, literally.
Oh yeah.
For possession of firearm by felon in Texas. And
oh yeah, I see that a lot.
it's very, very often. It's very, very common. And so I have a problem with that, But back to just cultural dynamic, because I definitely agree with you that there is a Texas element to this. And it's not like other states don't have guns, right? But it's a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like a gun in Texas is like a rite of passage. And I don't know if that makes people so much more comfortable and lax to have them and to be around them and to defend them, and than other states where laws are very tough. I mean, there's some states, I think California, like you have to wait 6 months, like 3 months, 6 months,
California, New York. I don't even know why you would carry a gun in certain states. It's like,
but how raggedy is that, right? To know that I can't even lawfully, safely protect myself because the state doesn't feel like we should have a gun. Like, and guns are some of the most deadliest things in the world. So I don't by any means ever want to take away how lethal having a gun is and how big of a decision it is to have to pull it, should you have to pull it. But I like what you said about being desensitized, because why do you think that we get desensitized by this? I mean, so on one hand, there's a part of me that says that a lot of these acts are staged, right? That a lot of these acts are staged. And so behind my thought behind acts being staged, it is to push agendas. Agenda would be gun control and gun legislation in this case. But if the opposite effect is happening, and people like you and people all over the place are like, another one, or feeling desensitized, not as emotionally invested as, say, we were when Colorado happened or when Sandy Hook happened, which I also think was manufactured, by the way. But, to feel desensitized is almost like it's counterproductive to pushing legislation for guns, because if people are kind of like, oh, well, not in my backyard, or they're just not as bothered by it as they had been by cases in the past, I don't know what purpose that serves for us to be allowed to be desensitized. They need us to be emotional about this stuff, Agree.
And so eventually the politicians will move on to something else. They'll still talk about it the same way, as long as and maybe. And let me say this: maybe it might just be me. Or let me say this, not just me, but maybe my thought only represents a small portion of the population. It's possible that the larger portion of the population is still very outraged and have a strong emotional reaction to what happened. I don't know. I feel like, but I'm just speaking for myself. So maybe it's large, because like I said, I don't watch the news anymore.
Right.
I check out of all of the trauma updates. That's the news, trauma updates.
Trauma porn.
So maybe just because I'm disconnected, maybe I could be disqualified from stating that opinion, possibly.
No, I'm not gonna disqualify you, because I didn't even know it happened until like late yesterday. And I'm on social media pretty consistent.
Okay, Nikki, let me say this. And when did it happen? Was it yesterday or the day before?
I think it was yesterday morning.
Okay.
I believe it was yesterday morning. And then I saw one person post something that said something like, "Damn, Nashville, my prayers are with you." And I was like, oh, I wonder what the fuck happened in Nashville. And I just went on about my day. Like literally nobody was really talking about it.
Let me use this to support my argument. I have to go into the office 2 days out of the week, and today we went into the office. We had a little quarterly, every 3 months we have a little outing with my team and my groups. We went and we ate pizza, we laughed and talked, and went to Top Golf and chilled out. Nobody at all mentioned what happened.
Wow.
Like,
And
while I
even
was
if
in the
you're not
office,
tuned
out of the
into the
office,
news,
nobody ever even thought about mentioning it.
wow. That's kind of sad if you think about it.
So that's what I'm saying, kind of to support yeah.
So that seems so counterproductive. They're losing our emotional investment into things like this. Now, I do want to enter into the conversation because it is definitely part of the conversation that's going to be had, I think, for maybe weeks and months to come with this particular case, right? Because it was a transgender male, meaning it was a female-born woman who identifies as a man. Now, does that mean anything bad about transgender people? No, not at all. Does that mean no? No, simply put, no, it doesn't mean anything bad against transgender people. However, you've got the classic school shooter is a white male. When they showed this suspect yesterday, her name was Audrey Hale. When you looked at her, and I don't want to be an asshole and sound like a judgmental person, but if that's how you take it, that's fine. When you look at her, you knew right away she was either lesbian, gay, bisexual. Like you knew. You could tell by the exterior that, okay, well, this is not like a heterosexual female. At least that was the first assumption that I made. Okay. I didn't know that it was. They still called her Audrey, so I just figured Audrey looked masculine, right? But Audrey identifies herself as a man. Audrey, the transgender man, shot up a Christian school that she also used to go to, and is also under the psychiatric care for emotional disorder, for emotional disorder is what it said. So you got a lot of shit happening at one time. You got a lot of stuff happening. I'm not saying it's the transgender issue. I'm not saying it might even be the religious issue exclusively or the medication and the doctor issue exclusively, but I feel as though there were probably enough people involved in this. I want to say girl, but she identifies as man, in this man's life. I find it hard to believe that nobody knew. I find it hard to believe that nobody knew that he was this much of a ticking time bomb. Had purchased 7 guns, lived with parents. Parents didn't know. I have issues with so much of this, because there is a transgender, and I know people don't like to say agenda, but there is things happening around that world. That when you throw that into the mix of a school shooting, it's a red flag for me. It's an instant fucking red flag. Like, oh, that was really convenient to have a transgender person committing this crime, and then at a Christian private school, no less, that this person also used to go to. So, one of my first thoughts was, who's this person going after? Why'd they go after? Why did they kill children? Who do these children belong to? How many people at the school told this girl back in the day she was going to go to hell, or she was going to die, or she was going to have eternal damnation because maybe she was gay back then, lesbian back then? I don't fucking know. There's so many pieces to this that it's not just about going up into a school and shooting some kids. And nobody wants to address all the other parts of it. They just want to take the gun and then we're going to solve the problem. That's not going to solve any of the problems. You can take all the drugs away. You're still going to have drug addicts. You can take all the alcohol away. People are still going to find a way. There's going to be alcoholics. You can take all the fat candies out. You can still put, you can take these things away. They're not going to go away entirely. It's not going to solve the problem. It's not going to fix anything. It's the Band-Aid. The solution is getting down to the mental health, the nuts and bolts, the why are you like this, the what happened, what is the original trauma? What are the roots to why you're doing this?
So if I could try to break parts of this down, or I let me give my conclusion based off of those different elements, because I hate to use the word excuse, but we can't give excuse to anything, or I wouldn't even want to bring in other factors because they just wouldn't hold up. So let's go to the the church. So let's assume, for the sake of this argument, let's assume that maybe this church did not support the LGBTQIA agenda. And that could, if so someone wants to make the argument that it caused some type of mental anguish, depending on the way that church school tried to conform this person, that would play a role in that. Again, the results don't equal out to that. As far as the kids didn't, those kids that were at that school didn't oppress you,
right?
So then we can't use that as a reason as to why, and other, every time someone oppresses me, every time I have a bad boss, that don't mean I go and do something bad to every boss or every manager that I have for the rest of my life.
You're emotionally stable too. You're also emotionally stable.
That is my focus point. Instead of people focusing on the church element or this is a trans man element, we could focus on this person is emotionally unstable. And if there's anything that, if there was a takeaway, this is my thought. I think society needs to get away from trying to get everyone to accept them, whether it's a trans world, whether it's a black world, whether it's we put the laws on the book. From a business standpoint, from a social standpoint, from a protection standpoint, we treat everyone equal. But all of this cancel culture and you got to agree with me and you got to like the things that I like, and that's not the real world. And I think it causes some more fragile people to, I think it just produces more fragility when you're looking for acceptance from everyone that you encounter, because it's not realistic. And those are people who turn around, well, they bullied me. No, they just didn't agree with you. Go find your circle of people who agree with you. And stop feeling like you have to cry out or make some type of point because there's a certain group of people who disagree with the way that you live.
And I believe I agree with you to a certain extent. Mostly, I agree with you mostly about that. But I also am not going to excuse the fact and the factor that religion does play a huge role in a lot of people's lives in this particular topic. In this particular instance, when it comes to a person being gay or lesbian versus straight, right? Heterosexual versus homosexual. And the common practice is most churches, not just the Christian church, but most churches do not.
Hold on. I don't even know if that's, I'm not sure where the line between hetero or homosexual is. It's more gender identity. And I don't know what that's where I start getting confused, because that would be more of a gender identity issue than a homosexuality or heterosexuality thing.
You're right. And my thought behind the words that I just used was that maybe until a person identifies that as what they're experiencing, I'm going to be inclined to believe, just based on the people that I know who are transgender, gay, lesbian, LGBTQ, whatever, that there was definitely some question in sexuality and preference of male versus female, you know, coming up or growing up, or then getting old enough to learn and understand that, you know, I'm going to identify as gender fluid. Or, you know, I mean, just relationship titles, dynamics, parameters have changed altogether. So when I say that, I guess that was ignorant to say just a heterosexual versus a homosexual thing, because it isn't even about sex per se. It's how the person identifies, right? And the church, if the church is not supportive of that lifestyle, right? And I use lifestyle in quotations, not to be offensive, but if the church is not supportive of that lifestyle, the opposite of supportive is oppressive. It is, you know, the words on the tip of my tongue. God, I can't think of the word that I'm thinking of, but it's the opposite of support, right? So as a child, as a young person who may be questioning their sexuality, who may be questioning just everything about themselves. I feel like I'm a boy, but I'm a girl. I feel like I'm a girl, but I'm a boy. Like, I like these things, but I'm a boy. I shouldn't. I like these things, but I'm a girl. Society says I shouldn't. Like, as a child who's questioning these things and is unsure of these things, and the adults in their world are constantly telling them that this is what it is, and this is what it is, and this is what it is. Or if you don't do these things, you don't get to meet this God that you love. You don't get to meet this Jesus that you love. You don't get to go to heaven with your family. You're gonna have to go to hell because of this. Like, but
I have a question based off something that you just said. You said the opposite of supportive is oppressive.
Well, in this case, absolutely. Because if I'm not supporting you, then my belief system may oppress your beliefs.
But let me ask this question. If I argue that the opposite of supportive is non-supportive, see,
but what does your
difference between non-supportive,
like? Right? But what does your non-support look like? Is your non-support on the fence where you don't pick a side? You just stay in the middle where it's safe? Or does your non-support fall off the middle and be over here where, no, I'm not down with this. I don't support this. I don't agree with it. It's not for me. I'm not going to encourage it. So oppress may have been the wrong word because I couldn't figure out which word I wanted to use. But I like where you're going.
Well, I'm saying there's there can be a large portion of society that has more of a neutral mindset to it versus an opposition mindset to it.
If you stay neutral,
before I keep talking,
the side of the oppressor.
Neutrality is the side of the oppressor. I don't want Matt to lose whatever thought he got, because then I'll be like, Matt, what's going on? He'll be like, ah, shit, I don't like y'all. I forgot what y'all.
I forgot.
Talking too long.
I'm gonna try to have him take notes.
I know that's right.
I've heard the whole conversation so far, and I don't want to steer you away from where you're going. But I work school security, so I have a lot of issues with certain things. So, in our district, they just hired a security and safety administrator who was an ex-police officer, been to FBI training academy and all kind of stuff. He's been on the job a short time, and he's meeting some resistance from some of the people that we work with.
Why has he got
like some of the worst people for some reason? Like let me ask you this.
I agree.
Matt, when it comes to school security, like a lot of issues where I see like when schools have a police presence in there, it seems like they don't know how to read the temperature of what's going on. Oftentimes they highly over escalate a situation further than what it has to go. I'm just saying from what I see in like a lot of these videos, like, damn, that's number one, that's a child. Number two, you really didn't have to take it that far.
I agree.
Is that the type of vibe? The person that you're working with, is that type of vibe they give off, or is that your experience even in school?
That's my experience before, but not with the current SROs we have. I'm not getting the vibe from this guy. It's more of not understanding how schools operate and function, and thinking that you can do certain things when there's not the manpower nor the time to do them. So I work in the elementary school. So
damn, y'all had to get a cop for elementary school?
we have an SRO that goes around to different schools. He's not stationary.
Okay. Okay, so it's not like on campus all the time.
No.
Question: Why did they get a cop at the school?
Well, we had SROs, but this guy is a safety and security administrator.
Okay.
Like he was brought in to, I guess,
that's the protocols and how you guys operate.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, me being trained in imminent threat defense in gunfighter pistol 1 and 2, low light gunfighter pistol, low light gunfighter carbine, active shooter training, and all that. I feel like as a school security officer, I should be able to be armed, but that would have to go across the board.
Right. You don't feel like everybody should be
like I'm overqualified,
right,
for stuff like that.
But
and I guess
a person should be at least qualified to. And a lot of people are underqualified, and they shouldn't.
And some people wouldn't be comfortable with that anyway.
Well, but Matt, that proves every school shooter's MO is the best place to go shoot up some shit is a school zone. Because it's a gun-free zone. Like the likelihood of anybody having a gun to be able to shoot back is going to be super, super rare, of course, unless maybe you are in Texas. But you can't have a gun on campus. So can your cop have a gun on campus? Because ours do.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what I heard this also, I heard people talking about teachers having the ability to carry guns, and I'm like, that's a terrible idea.
Very. Oh my God, they're the worst ones. I'm sorry.
Right. I agree.
Depends on the teacher. I have a lot of experience in a lot of schools, and I would say 90% no.
I agree with you. The number of teachers who I get that come through my damn DMI class, or who we get that come through class who get arrested for going to school under the influence of alcohol, no. The number of teachers and principals and administrative staff I see at restaurants that are turned the fuck up every day after school, who drive home after that. No, I don't think that they need to have guns. But I definitely think that if you've got somebody who is trained and certified, there should be some people on campus who have a fucking gun.
But if they arm
to protect our kids.
But if they arm me, then they have to arm all the security in all the schools that we have, and that's not going to happen.
So what's the argument? If the person is trained and certified and licensed, what is the argument that you guys come up against most? Why?
Well, it really hasn't been discussed. Like, I haven't brought it up because it's my thing. It's what I do. These guys have different lifestyles than I have. They have different. I'm not trying to say anything, but
I was like, if I wasn't security, I still had 20 guns. It don't matter.
More than that. But it hasn't come up. It's never been discussed in meetings, for the simple fact that I think that for what they want to pay, which isn't terrible. I mean, it starts like at $20 an hour, but what's $20 is the new $12 now, I feel like.
Right.
With inflation. But with what they want to pay and what they want to pay out for training and all that, it's not going to happen.
Wow.
Because if you arm somebody and train them, they're going to demand higher wages.
Right.
I mean,
that is true.
You're going to look at starting them at least $5 or $6 an hour more.
Yeah,
Right.
commissioned officers automatically.
And no one wants to do that.
Yeah.
But that's got to be less than hiring a former FBI agent to come patrol campuses.
No, just one. You're just hiring one.
But still,
well, he wasn't an FBI agent. He went through. He wasn't an FBI agent. He was a police chief at one point.
But even still, if that's one person you're paying a 6-figure income versus paying, I mean, how many schools?
And it's definitely 6 figures too.
Right.
So,
right.
About 3 times more than I make.
I mean, maybe in smaller school districts, you can get it, but larger school districts, they need, if they're going to hire officers, and they need to have them on every campus, not one officer to float around to all campuses. You really don't serve much of a purpose if you can't be on staff with the kids when they're there. And I'm not an advocate for cops on campus. I'm not an advocate for cops, period. I don't fucking like the police. I don't. And I don't like cops at school. I don't think I've met a cop yet at a campus that I even liked. As a parent, you don't get treated no differently than some of the shitty kids do. And I'm like, you got me real bad. There's some of us parents out here who are not the one. So I'm not
Quentin.
Well, you know what? It changed over.
campus.
I would say because even when I was at MacArthur, we had a police
McElroy.
officer.
McElroy.
That's how I forgot his name. Yeah, McElroy. See, but
Damn,
so,
y'all had that back when y'all was in high school too.
Yeah, but he was
but
cool.
no, but see, this is the thing. Yeah, he was, and this is the thing. It, from what I could tell, they didn't use the police officer to enforce rules. Like he was literally only there to protect and enforce like a real criminal element.
Right.
So if you wasn't dealing drugs or you wasn't about to shoot nobody, then he wasn't the go-to person. Like, oh, he's acting up in class, or if kids are you know, fooling around in the hallway, or even almost to the point of a fight breakout or something. He was there for the actual criminal element of the school or something like that stuff. But he wasn't involved in any of the other stuff. That's just regular school stuff. That was for
it's largely still the same way.
Deans. Okay.
Largely.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's
but
good.
There's a lot more fights now, especially on the high school level. I mean, when we're in high school, I'm 48. We had fights.
Right.
I don't remember anyone getting pepper sprayed by the police because there's a group of people that wouldn't let one in.
Sure.
And now they're getting pepper sprayed because they won't stop. And then they get out of hand. And there's been school security officers. There's a guy in a boot right now at one of our high schools. They got hurt on the job.
See, and like from what there'd be fights, but kids getting into fights wasn't a McElroy issue.
No.
That was something that you're going to
the coaches come to the coaches come out, the AP
deans,
comes down.
the other people going to,
but when there's 15 people involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Even then, you know what, y'all? I don't think
we didn't even have security in school.
We didn't have a cop on campus. And I went to high school.
Man, there's a whole bunch of people getting suspended. But now it's like you catching cases and you're gonna have a record before you get out of high school, because
our coaches hemmed everybody up. Our coaches hemmed everybody up. Our APs hemmed everybody up. But we did not have a cop on campus. And I graduated in '96.
But largely it's still like that. I mean, it's still a lot, you know, they have administrators.
But
they have security.
In Illinois, not in Texas. My little play brother caught a case before he even got out of high school. They was giving them charges. A fight. What we would get in a fight and we get suspended for a week or whatever the case is. They get in a fight and then it's you catching an assault charge. Damn. And then you got to go to, now you got to go to Williamson County to go before a judge, and either your parents are going to get fined, you're going to get put in ISO, or it's going to be something worse. Like, there's a lot of kids leave out of high school with
criminal
marks
records
on their record. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. Like, that's the stuff that I've seen in Texas that I really didn't see when I was growing up in Illinois.
And to back it up a little bit more to the incident in Nashville, the doors were locked, but she just shot the doors. She just shot the glass out of the doors and came in.
Is that what it was? Because I heard somebody say it was locked. I heard somebody else say it was unlocked. So the doors were locked.
She just shot the glass out.
Wow. So now they're gonna fucking retrofit all the doors with no windows.
And then it looks like penitentiary.
Yep.
Got to keep that school to prison pipeline working just nice and
bulletproof glass, which is hella expensive.
So this shit makes people money. When you have to reconfigure schools for safety, like the contracts of the builders who are providing these bulletproof things. Are you thinking conspiracy,
Nikki? Are you thinking conspiracy?
I mean, I'm just saying. And you gotta follow the money flow. And our governor, I think somebody posted earlier today, like slashed $200 million worth of mental health money somewhere in the budget. Greg Abbott did. But I bet you if they go and they have to make new doors and all these upgrades they have to do to these schools, I guarantee you it's Republican-owned fucking businesses that are outfitting these schools and making these shields and all of these things that are supposed to make schools safer. Like, It's I hate to always sound like the conspiracy nut, but like almost never are these things just actual fucking tragedies.
Well, you actually hinted about conspiracies earlier when you said manufactured incidents, because I was reading up on the Uvalde incident in Texas that happened. What was it?
Last year,
5-6 months ago, or no? It was end of last school year, wasn't it?
when was Uvalde? It was last year. I know that.
It could have been over a year.
Well, this kid like didn't have a job, didn't have any money or credit or anything, and he went and spent like $6,000 or $8,000 on guns and ammo.
Has 6 or 7 guns.
No, I'm talking about the kid from Uvalde.
Oh, Uvalde. Sorry.
And he spent all this money on guns. Where did he get the money? Like, I don't just.
Guns are not cheap.
One of them was a Daniel Defense rifle. Those were like $3,000.
Period.
And he bought 1,600 rounds of ammo. That's roughly close to $1,000. I mean, probably.
I was gonna say that's pushing damn near $1,000.
Get on credit.
Who is funding these things? There was a time where I believed. Do what?
People who want to push agendas.
That's what I started the conversation with, and I hate to always go that way. There was a time
I'm not saying that's definitely what it is. I'm not saying, oh, this is what's happening, but you have to keep your mind open to everything.
You do, because almost nothing is as what it seems.
People get so emotional about it. Oh, they need to ban these guns, blah, 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 blah. Technically, if someone had the intent, they could go into elementary school classroom and kill just as many people with a large knife.
Right.
Kindergartners.
You could, but that's harder to do.
Man, you see these subway attackers in other countries, they unleash damage in these places
with like machetes and stuff.
Locked doors. You could seal up the building and set up on fire if you wanted to.
If you're crazy enough, you could. But it's.
I mean, if you're crazy enough to do any of this, then
right. But they say even there's levels to it as far as, the average person who could pull the trigger. It's a fraction of those people who can actually take a blade and put it through your it's a different. I
mean, it's easier. It's
a far more personal attack when you use a knife than when you use a gun. Yeah,
and that's what they say. Even like they say, snipers can, the further you are away from it, actually, it settles in your mind a little bit differently.
It's just a disassociation there.
Right. Yeah, it's a disassociation. That's what the word.
And it's just a target anyway. It's not like
when
it's a sniper.
I remember when Sandy Hook happened. And my heart was broken and I cried that day. I remember I was at the nail shop when Obama came on the news.
I think we talked about that. We was at the coffee shop. That was probably one of the first conversations we had.
I believe so. And I remember that day feeling the way I felt about 9/11, right? I couldn't fucking believe this happened. Like, how could this happen? How could something so horrible happen? And within days of 9/11, my tune changed. Within days of Sandy Hook, my tune changed. I told my son today, we were talking about this before we got on the show, because he's like, what are y'all talking about? I said, there was a time where I believe Sandy Hook happened the way that the news said Sandy Hook happened. I said, but today I don't. I question if there was any children killed in Sandy Hook. I do. I know, right? I know, right? People say, oh, how can you say that? How can you think like that? There was all these pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures. The news is propaganda. The outlets are propaganda. They are agenda pushers. They're paid programming.
I would have to see. I'd have to go back and.
Oh, there's lots. There's lots.
No. Forget it. No. You don't know where I'm going with this. Forget all. I don't need to see any of that. I would have to go back and see the parents of those who lost children.
They were crisis actors. Ironically,
no. Ain't no acting that good in the world. Ain't no acting that good in the world. I can tell.
No, but I'm saying they were crisis actors. They've been at other crises over the country. Just ironically, you were at this one and at this one. Well, that's bad luck on you.
I'd have to say I could look and tell if they acting or not. I had to look. I could tell.
I'm a parent too.
You know what? I read something years ago.
It's just like the whatchamacallit. Hold on, man. When Smack showed the interview after the guys landed on the moon, I was like, oh, they didn't go to the moon. They didn't go at all.
They didn't got a damn moon, but we believe that shit to be true too.
But you know, like I'm so indifferent about all of that stuff. I don't care. But when I looked at that interview, I'm like, I don't know what's true or what ain't, but they didn't go to the moon. I can tell you that right now.
But even just entering in the thought that there is a question about the validity of what they're forcing us to be emotional or not emotional about becomes the issue for me when once again we have this rhetoric of school shooter, kids being killed, innocent people being killed. Like if anything should be more infuriating, it would be that. So for us to be desensitized, for us to be like, oh yeah, okay, well it's another one. Like there's so now we enter in another larger issue, another part of the problem.
I'm not.
I cut you off, Matt. Go ahead. Go where you was going before I cut you off, Matt.
I need to take notes. But I was going to say, when we were talking about the moon landing, I saw something the other day that they were talking about the Chinese supposedly landed on the moon. I just want to say like 2014 or something like that. But then they had a video and they took the video down within a day because it was obviously staged and it was so bad that they took it down. Like it was so obvious that they took it down.
Damn.
But before that, I don't know what I was going to say.
Well, you said you have a problem with
Oh, no. I was going to say, I read that the guy involved in the Aurora shooting at the movie theater and then the guy who did Sandy Hook, their fathers were both involved in the same credit scheme with some kind of bank.
I do remember that. Yep. I do remember that.
Whether it was true or not, I don't know.
Yep.
Because I hear things and I just kind of like, whatever. You know, I don't really look into it like I should. And there's so much misinformation.
There is.
You know, you don't know if you're reading real stuff half the time anyway.
Well, and you know, the crummy part about that, Matt, is like even when, let's say, the Aurora shooting happened, or even you can go back as far as Sandy Hook happened, like our access to information was even more guarded at that time. So I feel like even what we read then was more accurate than the shit we're going to read today. Like before I even posted some of the links of the story, like I had to like read through and scroll through different news sources to get the agenda in which each news outlet was pushing about the stories. And it's like, as a definite tried and true conspiracy theorist and truther, like there's a lot of shit that I even have to like second guess that I'm reading that is still conspiracy related because it's like, this just looked like some bullshit. And I'm not saying that there was no kids that were killed. I'm not saying any of that is related to this most recent school shooting. I'm just saying we do have to get out of our emotions and look at all the possible pieces of this. And I don't know, maybe if that's why I feel a little bit desensitized to this is because I look at things differently. I don't go into it with my heart on my sleeve right away. I think because when I've gone into things with my heart on my sleeve and believe what I thought I saw, I was wrong.
Right. I wanted to make a comment on the different news outlets. You know, my mom is always watching CNN and she's always, the CNN. And I'm like, Mom, you can't get all your news from one place.
Right.
Because their agenda is way left and Fox News agenda is way right.
Right.
But I don't know if there's anything in the middle. I don't know.
I thought CNN was supposed to be in the middle.
No, they're not in the middle.
They moved over to the left. They started off in the middle, right?
But hold on. What I was going to say was...
they were a more legitimate source of information, I feel like.
But for some reason, I had Fox News come up on my Twitter, and the first thing that they were saying transgender shooter, Nashville's transgender shooter. They kept on making point to say transgender.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Depending on which ad I went to, Matt, that's exactly how it was written. It was either female shooter, unknown shooter, or transgender.
And what did MSNBC? How did they present it?
I don't even know what MSNBC did.
I don't even know why Fox News comes up on my Twitter. I don't never remember following Fox. I don't even get on Twitter. But it came up like on
rifle. Man with assault rifle comes in. That's what MSNBC.
No, that one was woman with assault rifle.
But she
No,
wasn't
it'd be
even
man.
he
No,
or he or
they
whatever
recognize man.
wasn't
And
even
then it'd be
using an assault rifle when she started. I don't know. She had an AR-15, but that's not what she used
well,
when she came in.
if it wasn't registered, that's what they'd lead with.
Yeah.
Unregistered gun carrier.
Oh, of course. Convicted felon with a gun. Or no, they don't even call them guns. They call it weapon. Convicted felon with a weapon on drugs. It's like, God, dog. Like, that's just my neighbor. Like, don't sensationalize things so terribly. And I'm not laughing, right? Because, like, this is a funny thing. But it's just the
propaganda is funny.
Yes, man. And so many people I saw in conversations today were just like it's like as soon as the shooting happened, the emotional switch got hit, and all of a sudden it's like, forget every fucking thing I know and just go with what the TV is telling me to believe. And it's like, that's dangerous.
But some people do.
And back when I cared,
that allows people to not address the root causes. They just base everything on emotion as opposed to logic.
So back when I cared, I would also watch Fox News as well. I don't care at all anymore. But when I did, like,
the older you get,
and not even just, I'm even saying, because even the stuff I didn't care about, I still cared from a debate and moderating standpoint. I still wanted to get all sides of it.
Right.
And now to this point, I don't even care. I don't even care about that anymore. But I would watch Fox News because I wanted to catch the language and the tone and the feel for how people on that side
how they spoke,
how they thought, because the way Fox News taught was the same way that they spoke and the way that they thought and the way that they responded, and it was also the way that they viewed things based upon the information how it was given to them. And when the more I would watch it, now I could only stomach it for so long. Like, I'd give myself maybe 20 minutes at a time, and I'm like, all right, that's enough. And I had to go back.
But Laura Ingraham, I can't do her, man.
But it was a lot of people I couldn't do, man. Golly. But you know, the more you watched it, the more, even when you heard people talking like that, you could kind of catch their angle a little bit better. Not that I agree with it, but I could see their angle a little bit more. As to now, if you're not in tune with that and they talking like, what the hell are you do you even hear yourself talking? It's kind of it's one of those things to where, and it goes back to even church. I have a church culture lingo, white and black. So I understand the black church in the lingo and even the white church in the lingo. So there's certain stuff that they'll say oftentimes I don't agree with, but I catch their angle. And then when there's other people who listen like, oh my God, you know, and I understand why they don't catch anything that they're saying. And it goes both ways, but it's just, I think we think things are so rational, straightforward, and clear. And oftentimes we don't realize that you are a part of a stream of thought by a community oftentimes. And that works in the conspiracy community. They have a certain rhythm and language to the way that they talk. Like, it's circles have different flows of language. True. And sometimes it's beneficial to tap into it, and then sometimes it's not to tap into like, I'm gonna get indoctrinated by it, but it's just I get your angle. Yeah,
you try to go into all the conspiracies, you're gonna make yourself crazy.
Try to what?
If you get into all the conspiracies and you really start fall into a rabbit hole of conspiracies, it's gonna make you crazy. You're gonna, I don't know.
Well, I don't think it necessarily has to make you crazy.
You know, oftentimes is how you lead. It's your internal value system, and what is the hierarchy of your value system will dictate how you process information. So even conspiracy theorists, the way that they process, there's a hierarchy of what's important to them, and usually oftentimes information, oftentimes mistrust in government and capitalism.
So when you
start off looking through those lenses, then it's And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just
Right.
saying you're gonna receive things differently than someone who, like, staunch Republican who is proud to be an American. Let the bald eagle rest on top of my shoulder and I give him a kiss on the cheek. Like, it's gonna be two modes of processing information between those two people, and that's one of those things to where those ego kissing Republicans have such a hard time with Black Lives Matter. And it was just like, what do you mean you got
all lives matter?
You can't start any conversation with I'm unhappy with my country or my country needs to do better. It's not gonna filter the same way through their ears that it will someone else. Exactly. That's gonna be their first response.
Yeah, go back to where you came from. You can leave if you don't like it here.
I had another thought about that too, but we can talk about that later.
What's that?
Thought about this stuff floating around in my head about groups. I think I had a new revelation on groups.
Okay.
Whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's Christians, atheists, LGBTQIA, I think people need to really understand those groups, or any group that has an agenda or any movement to it. The movement is designed to be unfair.
The movement is designed to be unfair?
Yes. So anytime, let me give you an example.
Versus,
and I think that's
inclusionary.
Most movements are not about, the inclusion. There is no inclusion really. The movement itself is not about inclusion. The movement is about pushing. So there's a pendulum, right? Any movement that has to happen, or any movement that is happening, that group that pushes the movement sees the pendulum already on one side. It's already leaning one way. So they're not looking to balance it. They're actually looking to swing it the other way. Exactly. And when they swing it the other way, it's not. And so that's why for people who are not a part of that movement, a lot of people get turned off by it because they don't see the actual fairness in it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're not trying to be fair. And I've heard myself say this so many times, even with LGBTQIA. Y'all don't want equal rights. Y'all want special rights. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like at the time that they're pushing a movement. And I could imagine that's what it felt like during the civil rights movement. It's like, you guys just keep pushing, because for the people who it's not a concern to, they're comfortable with the way that things are.
Right.
If I'm not a gay or a LGBTQ person, or my children or someone is not part of that, from that angle, from my heterosexual angle, I'm like, things are cool on that front. But they're saying, no, things are not cool on this front.
Right.
And we got to push this. We got to put this in your face. We have to challenge every one of your thoughts. We have to challenge the things that you watch on TV. We have to make it uncomfortable for you. And somebody like me, like, damn, just God, chill out. What's wrong with y'all? And it turns the average person off. But I realize it's necessary for that movement to push that hard to balance out that pendulum. That was one of my thoughts that I had.
That's a great analogy too. I can see why you say that. I mean, if I'm already getting if I'm already getting a slow start, I gotta fucking catch up. I can see that.
And you're pushing against they have to push against what's comfortable.
Yeah.
Part of the movement is making comfortable society. We have to make you uncomfortable, because your comfortability is what's making us uncomfortable.
True.
So now we have to make you uncomfortable in hopes that one day we can all be comfortable. Mm. So I get it. And I didn't fully understand that for years and years.
It's a good way to put it, though.
What is IA?
I think the I is intersex. And A?
What is intersex?
Is A asexual?
I read all this stuff at one point.
It's LGBTQ.
I know what asexual is. What is intersex?
Intersexed?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see what intersexed is.
That might be the hermaphrodite thing.
Intersexed.
I can't remember. I
both?
read all that.
Intersex people are individuals born with any of several sex characteristics, including chromosome patterns, gonads, or genitals.
Gonads.
That's what the interweb says. That's literally what the interweb says.
I'm too old to be laughing at that shit.
That is a funny word, though.
Yeah, so it's
lesbian, gay. Word. So
of course, we know lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual.
Well, intersex, yes, that's more like a hermaphrodite.
I mean, isn't that if you're like born with both, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So why do I call a cis male or a cis man? Why can't I just be called a man?
Why is that thing? Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Why? Because I like that shit bothers me.
Like, I'm just a dude.
But you are a male-born male interested. Like you're a male-born male.
So
you're
okay, Matt.
Sexual male-born male.
I got it, Matt. So what they're trying to do is, I'm guessing, of course, this is all off top of the head. They want to normalize what it means to be a man. And what it means is our traditional view of a man should not be the only thought of what just a man is. I can wear a dress, I can do this, all of these things should be considered just a man. So if we give a specific identification to everything, then we can still generalize everyone who falls under that umbrella to just be called a man. So we're taking away your ability to say I'm a regular man, because in our minds we're all regular men,
right?
No matter how we identify sexually or gender wise. If we identify as a man, then we're all men, and you don't get to hold the sole title of I'm just a regular dude.
Then why label yourself something else if you're just a man?
What do you mean? Why label yourself something?
Like if he's saying, if his definition is, and I don't know if this is how accurate this is. I'm taking it as accurate because Q's smart, but kind of.
No, you were right the first time. Go ahead.
But
Q's smart.
If they're taking away my ability to say that I'm a regular man, because they should be considered regular men too, then why label me and label yourself if we're all just men?
Okay, cisgender person.
I know what you mean.
A cisgender person has gender identity that matches their sex assigned at birth. A person whose sex was assigned male at birth and identifies as boy or man. And
go back. Say that again, Nikki.
A cisgender person has a gender identity that matches their sex assigned at birth. So a male-born man or a female-born woman.
Right.
Whereas now with transgender, we've got male-born women and female-born men. So you've got so now just being a male-born man or a female-born woman, now you're a cis female or a cis male.
But hold on. So,
oh shoot,
are gay men saying that they don't want to identify as man?
Well.
Because I don't be like, oh, he's a gay dude.
A gay man is still identifying as a man. He's just a gay man, but he's still a man who identifies as a man. The issue becomes when you're talking about a transgender individual who no longer identifies as their sex at birth. So you have your binary people, your gender fluid people, your transgender people.
Okay. Oh, so hold on, Nikki. So a cis man. Can a cis man also be gay as well?
Based on this definition, I don't know why you couldn't be, but let's find out. I don't know. Let's see. Can a cis?
Because some gay dudes, they're just like a regular dude anyway. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just a regular dude. Like, and I know I'm not supposed to say regular, but just like a guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They talk about sports and fucking
It's
go
just
fishing and
keeps
shit.
saying that
As long as
cisgender
if you're
or
a male that
simply
was,
cis
if
is
you
an
were born a
adjective that
male that's
describes a
currently a
person
male.
whose gender identity aligns with the sex they're born. I don't know why a gay man couldn't
So
be a cis
okay,
man. He
so
still identifies as a male.
it's only gender based, but not sexuality based.
I think that's the thing. It's because it's identifying as the
Gotcha.
sex assigned at birth. So yeah, it has nothing to do with sexuality as opposed to the sex assigned at birth. So you were born a girl, you identify as a girl. You were born a boy, you identify as a boy.
So I could say I'm a cis gay male. Well, I don't.
Yes, because you're still a male born as a man. You just your sexuality, you like men.
Right.
But you still identify as a man.
So one part is I gender identify as XYZ, and then my sexual I guess whatever your sexual attraction is,
orientation.
Whatever else you. Okay, so it can be a combination of things.
That's the way the internet looks like to me.
And I got to talk to somebody as far as I guess I don't have to, but I'm still curious as to how I get confused every time as far as a transgender person. If a transgender woman is attracted to men, then she is.
You can't call her gay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
are you
gay because she doesn't even identify as a male. She identifies as a woman.
If you identify as a trans woman, but you like other women, now are you a homosexual trans woman?
No.
See,
that's the part I get confused about. That's the part I don't. I'm
definitely not the right person. I'm not the politically correct person to ask these to ask these questions, but they are good questions. And I think back in the day, and maybe this was the shame of society, right? Because
you're just weird. Back in
the day, because we did lack information and compassion for the next human, right? Like we just called them gay. That's just you were gay or you were lesbian. Like I think that was just a blanket term that people were given if they didn't have normal heterosexual attraction, right? So you were just gay or you were lesbian or you were straight. It was one of the three. And now we have like levels and layers to it based on sexual orientation, based on biological sex at birth, and then of course sexuality. And I didn't know what cis meant for the longest time. I was like, why is it that? So I was with you, Matt. Like it didn't make any sense to me. And I guess it makes sense if you have to have a definer today. And I think in today's world, you do gotta have a fucking definer.
Yeah, I think so.
I know we're off topic, and I'm gonna take us a little bit more. So I was in a Facebook group. I'm still in it, and I think the question, it was a couple of years ago, was something like, if you're a man, a straight man who won't date a transgender woman, then that makes you transphobic.
Oh, I've seen that conversation.
I got called transphobic because I said I wouldn't date a transgender woman, and I was like, okay, I mean, I wouldn't want to do it anyway because we all have preferences.
Right.
I don't like big girls. I don't like big girls. I don't like penises. So if she identifies as a woman,
I do like. Well, go ahead.
But
right.
What?
The one I have.
There's one penis. I wouldn't trade for the world.
That's my dog.
So, I was actually called transphobic. They're like, you're transphobic. I'm like, how is that transphobic? That's just a preference. So if I don't like fat girl, I'm fat phobic. I have a preference.
Right. And preferences were fine until the conversation of sexuality comes into play. And I think that's fucked up because I should be able to say, I personally do not want to be with a man who sleeps with men. I don't. That does not make me fucking transphobic. That's my preference. Just like I like dark men. That's my fucking preference. Just like I like tequila over vodka. That's my preference. Like
I don't like men. That's my preference.
We are allowed to have preferences. That does not mean that because I don't want to be with men who sleep with other men that there's anything wrong with them. That's just not what I prefer. And I too have been called transphobic too.
Matt, what if this trans woman is has had a surgery?
No.
So you don't have to. If you sound like penis, she be like, well, I don't have a penis. So
no.
So Nikki, then would that make him transphobic? She looks like she is a woman who looks like a woman and does not have a penis.
But she was a dude.
And for if we get down to the nuts, and look, if we get down to the nuts and bolts of it, no pun intended.
If she dies in 100 years and they dig up her bones, they're gonna dig up a man's bone. They're gonna be able to tell that was a man.
In trouble, both of y'all.
You know what?
And I'll stand by what I say.
She can't carry your child at the end of the day.
Stand by what I say.
All the surgeries you want to, she still can't have a baby.
I don't give a fuck what people do with your life as long as it's not hurting anybody.
Right.
But don't tell me what I am because I don't want to be part of that.
So that was part of the conversation I started with Nikki earlier. Even talking about the shooting was, I think people look for too much validation in their own, like, it's not enough for you to disagree with me or the way I view it. But if you don't agree and support my belief and go along with it, now you are somehow bullying me. Now you are in opposition to me. Now you are, and it's like, I think people who take that mindset, they a lot of times take on a victim role, and I don't think you I just don't think that's a productive way to have expectations of life. Everybody's not supposed to agree with you. I don't sit there and well, all the people who talk bad about my Jesus, and now I feel they're not supposed to. It's perfectly fine if people don't agree with the way I believe. What's the problem? Now, I don't need you, not allowing me to get a job or throwing rocks at me when you see me walking down the street.
Right.
That's different. But for you to say, yeah, no, I disagree with that. I mean, science tells me that it's probable that virgins don't have babies, so I don't really agree with that.
No, okay. I'll agree to disagree with anybody.
No problem.
Because I'd rather, usually, like when I'm talking to people about certain things, and the gun ban thing came up today because a couple of people in my school like, people shouldn't even have those, and I was like, here we go. I said, okay, we'll agree to disagree. That's all I said. We'll agree to disagree. So
I had somebody tell me today, Matt, that it was going to take for there to be a school shooting at my kid's school for me to feel empathy and for me to see the bigger picture. And I was like, what is wrong with you fucking people? Why does it always have to be
same talking points, regurgitated talking points that they've heard other
so
people
here's
say.
my thought, right? So I was just thinking about this while I was listening to y'all talk, because the conspiracy in me never goes away quite really and truly. I cannot get over the fact that they're pushing this transgender thing, right? Like I can't, right? Like there's a reason that this shooter is transgender. And my thought is, if this was an orchestrated event, whoever put this together, I feel like it's going to backfire. I feel like with so many states trying to legislate anti-LGBTQIA laws, let's just say it was orchestrated, and they sent a transgender person in there with an automatic rifle to go shoot a bunch of kids at a Christian school. So let's make the issue be transgender mental health, the fragility of the trans people, right? Like if I was a Republican, Fox News toting fucking weirdo, right? Like it would be all about the transgenders now, right? Like we're going to point the fingers at the transgenders now, right? But what is going to end up backfiring from these Republican Christian politicians is the God element, the religious element is going to come into question here. And since all of those same Republican toters are blue Bible book carriers, I think that the transgender thing is going to get washed out. And the bigger issue is going to become, well, what happened to this girl all her life that made her flip the switch and go into her past school and kill these little Christian kids? Like, I just can't help but feel like there's multiple agendas happening at the same time.
Well, let me.
We'll never find out.
This is off of your point a little bit. Let me correct you on one thing. Republicans are not Christians.
No, but that's what they claim.
I know. So they do that because it's another way to garner support from those rural Bible Belt,
sure,
God-fearing people. So if we do and say everything that we're doing is under the name of good, wholesome, white Jesus Christianity, then they will side. The people who we're looking to vote for us will side with us more.
And don't they ever?
Easily. Yeah. But no, yeah, that ain't got nothing to do with what you're saying. But yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see how this eventually is going to play out. I mean, because we definitely know the transgender equality topic is absolutely like front and center every single day we turn on a television, every movie we watch, every fucking kid cartoon that's made now, whether you like it or you don't, or you agree, you disagree, you are not going to go a day watching a television show without seeing a gay issue, a lesbian issue, a bisexual issue, a transgender issue.
They're making it that way though.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, so it just so conveniently
we have to stay in your face.
So conveniently, we have a transgender school shooter. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I like.
I'm halfway there with you, Nikki.
You know what I'm saying? And I hate to say that.
So what's the what is their end game, or what was the powers that be? What do you think would be their goal behind orchestrating this? Like, what would be their ultimate goal?
Depends on what the powers that be are. On one hand,
because we don't know, because there could be two sides. Not necessarily with this one thing, but one side could be pushing all this. Then one side could be pushing all this.
You got one side who wants to push gun control.
I'm curious. I'm saying break down what. Give me one side, whichever side that may be, and then what would be there.
Gun control, gun legislation. So we know the Democrats typically are huge on trying to legislate, criminalize, gun control. How many you can have?
But to have a trans person do it would be counterproductive to their.
Because then it just adds to the mental fragility of the transgender person.
That would break down that conspiracy to me. Like if Democrats did it for the sake of pushing gun control, they would never have a trans person do it because that goes against their other agenda.
Right, because they generally support,
So for me, that conspiracy would be knocked down, in my opinion. But
then the right wouldn't use transgender going to a school with assault weapons,
right?
Because that would kind of kick their argument.
So I had to kick out conspiracy on this, just based off of both scenarios. Wouldn't make sense unless there's another party that I could see an angle to. But I just
maybe there's people out there who hate transgenders and guns. They don't want transgenders and guns.
Of course they are. You know they exist. They definitely exist.
But those people don't wield enough power to
that's what I was just thinking.
Make those wheels roll.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a minority.
But to think that there's never been a conspiracy with any of these shootings, that someone hasn't taken someone who
I'm not saying that. I just look for angles.
Right. I'm not saying you did, but has not taken someone who had a weak mind, who was a little crazy, and put information in their head and brainwashed them to do things and gave them the means to do this. You can't be realistic if you don't think people would do that.
To find someone who already has mental issues and mental instability, it's easy to
find some loser like the Uvalde shooter.
Yeah, it's easy to tip them over the edge and pull their strings.
I just watched the on Netflix. They've got a documentary on Waco, the Branch Davidian and the David Koresh shit that
saw
went
one
down,
of the
right?
movies on that. I saw a different documentary. Well, yeah,
I've seen
that's
a couple documentaries on it. This
Yeah.
one was really fucking good. I highly recommend watching it. And you know, and I don't know if you were here at the time, Q, but like we definitely lived here, and it was like
No,
right up the street.
it was a little bit before me because I was like 94, 95, something like that.
93.
My dad,
93.
look, my dad wanted
See,
to
my
drive
dad was
out
a
there. I
truck
was like,
driver at the time. I remember we drove through Waco for some reason, but my dad was a truck driver. I'm like, I heard about this place.
yeah. So my point in mentioning this was shit, it was about guns.
Conspiracy.
I lost my whole train of thought. Damn, it was about
jump in, it'll come back to
hold
you.
of that.
Well, the ATF burned those people up, basically.
Oh yeah.
Say that again.
The ATF burned those people up.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's thermal images that I saw somewhere years ago where you could see people trying to run out the back, and there was muzzle flashes going on.
Oh, there were many of the ATF agents that were in this documentary that I watched last night, and they're pissed. They spoke out. They've been speaking out. I mean, it's crazy to see how all of these agencies put together fuck this up. I mean, really,
just feel like if you really wanted David Koresh that bad, he was always away from the compound doing things. Just snatch him up while he's away.
Right.
It just,
that was their thing.
I watched the documentary.
They wanted their guns.
Right. I watched a documentary on it years ago, but then I watched that movie that came out a couple years ago where that guy from Friday Night Lights, what's his name? The long-haired dude. He played David Koresh, and he did great. And it was showing like there were some federal agents and then ATF and then David Koresh, and it was showing one federal agent who was like negotiating with them.
I remember what it was.
At one point, like how he was so pissed off that they actually assaulted the compound because he felt like there was better ways to get him if they wanted to get him.
Yeah.
I remember what I was going to say. The reason I mentioned Waco was, the tying in of things is Timothy McVeigh went to Waco. He, like, when this was all taking place, he went there with the intention of being support to the Branch Davidians, to David Koresh. Was it a year later? Because it was the same day that
2 years.
The Branch Davidians. Okay, 2 years. So 2 years later. So it was to the day 2 years later. The same Timothy McVeigh who went to Waco went and blew up the federal building, of course, Oklahoma City. So just the correlation between the people that be at these places and what happens when they leave and carrying that message. Like he carried that message and blew up that fucking building. I remember we were driving to Minnesota that summer, and again, my parents wanted us, like, they wanted to go to Waco, they wanted to go to the Oklahoma City bombing, and we did. I
went to the Oklahoma City bombing site.
We went that summer, so it was just a couple months after it had taken place, and I'll never ever forget that, right? But like, that's agenda. That's fucking agenda. That man had an agenda, and he was determined to carry out that agenda regardless of. But it was all spurred from things that he had been exposed to prior to that. And of course, they painted him out to be a horrible, horrible, terrible person, and he was. There's no doubt about that. He was.
Right, yeah, definitely.
So I don't know.
If he really orchestrated the Oklahoma City attack.
We're talking about major Republican states. We're talking about states with major legislation and oversight and all of these things. And I don't know. I don't want to say that what happened in Memphis or what happened in Tennessee didn't actually happen. I don't want to say that, but I just feel like it's too fucking convenient. The school shooter thing is become the norm. And that's not because people have access to guns. People have always had access to guns. There's something else behind that. And they do want to unarm society. They would love, both sides of the spectrum would love to have an unarmed society. So I'm grateful to people who fight for their Second Amendment rights and people who are not willing to just lay down and let them take their fucking guns and legislate how much ammunition you can have and how many different types of guns you can have. Like I applaud people and I appreciate people who protect the Second Amendment, because that's all we got at the end of the day. Because between them and us, and they have all the guns, what do we have? Ice picks and rocks? We're out of here.
Well, you know that Illinois passed a assault weapons ban in mid-January. Like, we can't have magazines over 10 rounds in a rifle, 15 rounds in a pistol. No sale or manufacture of any like assault weapon parts or anything. I can't order anything now. I mean,
Wow.
I don't have any. So, but they're supposed to be registered by the beginning of the year next year. But 80-something sheriffs out of 102 or 105 counties, whatever we have sent a letter saying that they will not participate or cooperate in any registration. Like, they won't cooperate with state police or anything. And like, we believe in Second Amendment rights because we have a government. We had one mass shooting up by Chicago.
Oh yeah,
a couple of years ago in Highland Park or whatever.
Right.
And so they've been pushing this, and then they pushed it in right before all the new officials came in, elected officials came in, like the week before, like days before they voted on it and got it.
Wow. The one thing I do not agree with, though, I don't agree with this. I don't agree that people who have guns don't have to have a license. Like, I don't care if you have a car. I don't care if you have a license for a car. I do believe you should have a license to carry a gun, or that you should have certification or some type of state mandated training in order to be able to buy a gun. Now, does that make you gun proficient? No. You can learn that as you go.
I mean, we do here.
See, Texas, it's whatever you want.
But
Texas
it's
whatever.
But to me, I feel like it's a money grab here, because no matter what, when you buy a gun,
anytime you register something, but there does have to be a safety net somewhere, right? Like, I think registration, car registration is a fucking money grab. I think a car inspection is a money grab.
Right?
Every time you buy a gun, you fill out a 4473 form.
Right.
Like, that's a federal form, and they do a federal background check.
That's it. That's all you gotta have in Texas. That's all you gotta have in Texas. Unless you go to a gun show. At gun shows, they don't even do those. You can literally go and buy as many guns as you want with a gun. That's where a lot of the illegal guns do come from. I mean, obviously other places too, right? But a lot of people who can't buy guns at a traditional gun store go to gun shows to get guns.
So basically, I have to have a card. It's called a firearm owner's identification.
We used to,
saying that I can purchase firearm. But they still do background check. They still do everything else, but they charge you $10 for this card or $25 for this card, however much it is, so the state gets money for it. Mm-hmm. And same thing with ammunition. But I can go to Missouri and just go to the store and buy ammunition. Or in Kentucky got me, though, because I went to Kentucky and they asked for my ID. And it was Illinois ID, so you have to have an Illinois FOID card.
Wow.
But Indiana, no. Like, we're surrounded by states.
Now, would you have a criminal violation if you came into the state with a surplus of ammunition or whatever Illinois says that you can't possess?
They haven't said anything about ammunition. No laws on ammunition.
Oh, okay.
No laws on. I mean,
I think that's how New York is.
You're supposed to register everything you have by the first. But you see my eyes.
No, Texas, you can concealed carry, you can open carry.
You have to have a license to conceal carry here.
No, you don't have to have no license to carry.
You got to go through a 16-hour training here and qualify.
Not here anymore. When I bought my first gun, you did have to have a license for a concealed handgun. It was a CHL, a concealed handgun license.
Right.
And I did all that. And then a couple years later, of course, they're like, yeah, you don't even have those anymore. We just do background checks and that's it.
Tennessee has constitutional carry. Missouri has constitutional carry. So as long as you're able to legally buy a firearm, you can carry one.
Right. So. But I do believe that some laws are valid to have. But for the most part, I'm okay with open carry. I'm okay with concealed carry.
I don't like open carry for the simple fact is it already gives you up. Like, if someone comes in,
it can make you a target.
But they already see, well, I got to get him first.
It can make you a target.
So,
It can. But visually, I don't have a problem with that. Some people are
Right.
very uncomfortable the second that they see
Right.
somebody open carrying. I'm like, shit, I'm cool. I want to make sure I know where you are at all times. Some shit goes down, I'm looking at you because over here we got ours too. Like
dude, you gonna do
go.
something or not?
Right.
What you got it for? You ain't doing nothing.
Who's shooting first? And not to make any kind of light about guns. Like I said earlier, I mean they're one of the most deadliest things you can have next to a car, right? But like, I don't know, for whatever reason, the school shooter thing keeps happening.
Fork.
A fork.
A fork.
It just keeps coming back.
A girl here hit a girl in the head with a hammer, and then put the girl's big swollen head on Snapchat.
Damn.
Like,
wow.
That was in Decatur?
I think so.
Some drugs, man. Some drugs.
19-year-old victim. But they've been shooting like crazy here, killing people and shit.
Yeah. Like, man, what's wrong? What's the problem here?
Damn. Well, I'll be curious to see how more of this unfolds. And like you said, Matt, at the end of the day, we're not going to get the truth out of most of these things anyway. So whether we have speculations or theories or not, like, it's good. They're gonna paint the picture whenever they want the picture to be painted, obviously.
All right, well, I guess we exhausted that conversation. we made it all the way through. We ain't talk about
the good thing is, this is probably the most I've ever talked because there was only 3 of us. Even though you 2 are the most talkative, except for Edward when he was on here. And
we haven't seen him in quite some time.
I had a feeling that we wouldn't. Y'all gave him a terrible beatdown, and I'm like, he ain't coming back.
I don't even think he's commented on a single post since that day. Yeah.
But you know what? Now I missed whatever you guys are talking about. But but
it was a good conversation though.
But I always feel like he had a valid point and a valid argument and everything, and he made good points. I mean, sometimes I wouldn't always agree with it, but he was very long-winded.
That's brutal.
Well, we try to let you get him. Sometimes you just gotta like say, y'all, it's my turn.
Yeah, because I'll forget. I'll be like,
jump on in.
What'd I say?
I got my notebook and my pen on the side every time.
Yeah, I have a screen. I'll be typing. Like,
I don't know how you do it. You be typing and reading and looking and talking. I'm like, oh, my multitasking does not work the way yours does. So I need my notebook and all my attention. But it was a good conversation. I mean, again, we don't generally talk about, hot topic stuff, but I appreciate that you started this off with feeling desensitized, because I think that's really important for anybody who's listening to this later is this desensitizing you? Why is this desensitizing you? What is there something wrong if this is desensitizing us? Like, do we want this to be desensitizing us? Like, and then what else are we being desensitized to? Just with the constant being inundated and bombarded with imagery and sounds and just the shit that the TV and the movies and the music and the people in positions of power continue to shove down our throats and expose us to. Like, the desensitization is a really good word. There's a lot of things I think that we're being desensitized to, and I don't think that's a good thing.
See, I was always made comfortable with violence. My dad always told me to be comfortable with violence because and trained to be comfortable with violence, because the first time you encounter it, you don't want to. When you encounter violence, you don't want to be the first time you encounter it.
Right.
So,
damn, that's an interesting take. And then really, you don't even know how you're going to respond in those situations until it actually goes down.
I listed all my training, but shit, when it goes down, you never know.
Right. But at least you have it, though.
I like to think that I have the constitution to react the way I've trained to react, and in my head I will react. But hopefully, I don't ever have to face that situation.
Right. Agree. Mental health is the issue. I think the bottom line is we got a whole lot of other issues that need to be addressed besides just who can and can't buy a gun or what kind of gun you can and can't have. Mental health has to stop being skirted. Every fucking thing that goes wrong literally points back to mental health, whether it's a domestic abuse in a relationship, abuse of a parent to a child, inability to maintain, a job and, financial response. I mean, there's just the list goes on and on and on of ways that mental health issues deteriorate society.
And Nikki, think just to my point real quick. As bad as things are, however you want to view it, we are, as a society, much better and much advanced when it comes to social acceptance, even from a spiritual aspect. Religions are more accepting than they were 20, 30 years ago. Society, when it comes to gay rights, much more accepting than we were 20, 30 years ago. So actually, we're moving in the right direction. So then you still have to ask yourself, if we're going in the right direction, then why would we see more and more of these type of hate crimes? So it goes back to my point of we can't just put it on, oh, they were, this Christian school did this to them, or these people who hated gay people did this to them. We're actually better off now than we were 30, 40 years ago, and we're heading in the right direction. So if that's the case, then if one thing equaled another, then you would see less and less and less based upon the amount of acceptance. But as acceptance continues to grow, we're still seeing more and more violence. So my thing is, let's not point to that to say, if this wasn't the issue, then this never would have happened, because the two are not equating that. And it goes back to what I initially said. There's something about people now having this desire to be
accepted.
All of their thoughts and everything has to be, you have to agree. Not even just acceptance, it's further than just accept. You have to agree with me. If you're not agreeing with me, then you're bullying me. And I think that mindset has to stop, because it's showing that having that victim mentality, it does not help anybody.
Nope.
And like you said, everybody's not a bully. Disagreeing with you doesn't make one a bully. Right. But disagreeing with somebody and that person then turning around and calling you transphobic kind of makes you a fucking bully.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's, I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. It always just seems to be like that's the way that it goes.
The school didn't accept me for who I am, so now I'm gonna shoot up some kids at the school. Like, how does that doesn't
20 years later,
right?
15
kids
years
wasn't
later,
even
whatever.
around. Yeah, it's like, how does that equate? It doesn't.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if more of who the staff is starts to unfold, and who were these people that were killed to this girl? What role did they possibly play in her life? And we may never know. And maybe there's absolutely nothing more to this than literally just what it is, right?
That's what Chris Rock said back in the day. He's like, some people just crazy. He said, when I was in school,
yeah, that's true.
The crazy kids, they let them out 30 minutes earlier than they let everybody else.
Damn.
They kept them down in a little separate part down in the basement somewhere. They just kept all the crazy kids away from the rest of the kids, because just in case they was thinking about doing some crazy stuff, we kept them away from everybody.
Damn it.
One spin is going to be, well, especially if this person was transitioning and was taking hormones and stuff like that.
That's what I'm wondering. They said that he was under psychiatric care for a emotional disorder. Now, I'm not saying being transgender makes you an emotional disorder, but there was something going on that's got this person treated by a doctor for emotional disorders. So
what else were they being treated for?
Yeah, was this person in gender affirming therapy? Like, was this person about to undergo a sex operation? And none of this is to be made light at all. It's just the fact that this is what they're using as part of the stage in this situation that took place. Like, so I'm real curious to see how some of this is going to come out.
And before we get off, I'm thinking, with all my experience with all this, she was shooting through the door and walking around the building before she even got to shoot anybody. Like, where were these people at? What were they doing? Were they
If you got a
sheltering
bunch
in
of
place,
kids with you, then you just
or were
trying
they?
to you
I
just
mean,
probably trying to hide or wait for help.
Damn.
Like if
See, I
you in
didn't
high
watch. I
school,
didn't
like
watch the
hey,
video.
everybody.
because
if I, if I, if
the
I
way my school is set up is there's an
If I'm a
exit door
teacher
in
in
every
high school, I'm
classroom.
like, everybody for themselves, get out of here. If I got some
Out
little
the
kids
window
with me, then
go. Fuck
But like,
locking
well,
the
you know
door.
what?
We
I don't even have
jumping
to say
out.
that. They look, they all gonna do whatever they want to do. They like every man for themselves after that. But little kids, you trying to. All you could do is just kind of hunker down and hope help come. It's not a lot that anybody can do. I could stand at the door and be like, hey, the moment somebody come through the door, then I'm gonna give it my best shot.
If I was a teacher,
and
I
who's
would.
to say someone
If I was
didn't?
a
We don't
teacher,
know.
I
Right,
would.
exactly.
If I was a teacher, I would be willing to take charges. If I was a teacher, I'm taking my gun to school with me. I don't fucking care. I will leave it locked. I will make sure that children cannot reach it. But I would not work in a school building and not have a goddamn gun on me or in my
They
fucking
just
car.
wouldn't know. Nobody would know until the time came.
Exactly. Somebody's busting from inside the building. That's
And
me.
then they'd be like, and
That's me.
then here's the thing. Then they'd fire you for
That's
for
all
doing
right.
that.
I'll take
But
it.
Like that's all
That's
right.
all right.
Yep.
That's all right.
if you saved the day, someone starts you a GoFundMe.
You
Yeah,
damn Skippy.
get it back on go.
NRA's gonna have our back now.
$682,000.
Yep. I would, because these kids are sitting ducks. Whether these things are orchestrated or they're not, our kids are sitting ducks. I saw a video on YouTube or Facebook yesterday, and it's going around, and I don't know where it's at, but it was like a teacher in a classroom has this like this like bulletproof shelter wall in her classroom.
Well, the way our rooms are set up,
They
is
just be getting beat up.
all the doors are locked and there's a magnet over the latch. So if something happens, they just take that off and the door be locked. And but we have exits in every classroom in our school. So theoretically, they could just out the exit, like outside. And I'd much rather a kid be lost, just run three blocks down, lost, crying, than dead.
Right. Straight up. Yeah, I don't know. I do like the point that you made about the schools now looking, or the potential of them becoming more institutional looking on the aspect of safety,
but
right?
a lot of parents aren't going to be cool with that.
They already are. The fucking schools are already baby penitentiaries.
Because I feel like, I don't know, metal detectors and wands and stuff in elementary school.
That's a tough call. But now, I mean, in Uvalde, people were saying, "Oh, well, if we would have had metal detectors, then
no,
you know."
He went in a door that someone left open.
Supposedly,
yeah. They still gonna make that argument though.
But then an actual police officer had him in his sights.
Yep.
Asked for permission to engage. Yep. Never got it, so he didn't at 148 yards, which is not a tough shot. And even if he missed, he might have discouraged them.
Right. Taking that shot.
And then the police inside, the only one that had any guts was the one with the pistol. The guys with the carbines didn't even.
Yeah, Uvalde was an absolute shit show. And I feel so sorry for those parents literally being forced to sit outside that school and listen to what's happening inside.
One mom went and got her kids in a couple classes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
held the door open.
I don't see how that would have worked for me.
Because that one guy, he was like,
"You have to shoot me. You're gonna have to shoot
me from going in there and
right.
getting my
But that one guy told the police,
have to shoot me.
He said, "Give me your shit. I'll go in."
He sure did, which surprised me because this is the Valley in Texas.
But I'm just like, okay, don't give it to me. I'm still going in.
I'm going in
to get my child.
You're going to have to shoot me. Literally, you're gonna have to shoot me because you're not gonna be able to fucking detain me.
I can tell you what, what you won't see me is doing is just standing right here. That ain't gonna happen.
I agree. People say, "Oh, well, you don't know what to do if he was in a situation." Yes, I do.
I know what I do when it comes to my child.
Yes, I agree.
Well, didn't they like threaten that one woman who went into the school and got a couple classes out? Didn't they threaten her with charges or something?
I don't know about her per se, but I know they wanted to charge the dad who wanted to rush the building.
Okay, well, charge me.
Charge me.
Those guys inside did nothing.
Charge me or shoot me, but I'm gonna go do something.
Yeah, something. All right. Well, we got it all out.
Right.
Wrap it up, Q.
Till next week. Good conversation, good show. Share this, comment in the future whenever you're watching. And as always, if you have ideas, we're always looking for ideas, things to talk about. We are open to any and everything. As you can tell, we just had a transgender gun conversation. Right. We can talk about anything.
We will.
Wait, there's transgender guns?
That's the
Transformer episode. Transformer episode.
For sure, send us some topic ideas because me and Q are banging our heads into a wall the last couple of weeks. So give us some topic ideas. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna brainstorm and put a bunch of thoughts together. But we want your ideas. What do you want to see us talk about? Yep. So send us your ideas and share the page, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.